three mistakes that I made as a new speaker, trainer, and coach. And I felt this calling to share this message with everybody who's aspiring to become a speaker, a trainer, or a coach, or a change agent, and who is into it already and is struggling to create the impact on their clients or on their participants or on their audience, and is wondering like, what exactly is this influence? What exactly, how can I do this? So here are three mistakes that I felt a desire to share with you, which I happened to experience in my journey. And then I think about a few years ago when I started making these corrections, and this is where I am today. People, when they give compliments about the work, the experience that they get, the transformation they experience in my workshops or in my speaking engagements and in my one-on-one coaching sessions and group coaching sessions. So these three mistakes were like, they are founded in the one of the first professions that I landed into, and I started my career from is selling. I was in fact the first sales representative, marketing executive, or sales representative of Eureka Forbes in the South Orissa. And I still remember I was very nervous, going and knocking on the doors, and even the word selling was not there in my DNA. And I accepted the job, but it was a source of income for me, and I was not feeling passionate about it. I was not feeling inspired to go and talk to people and give the demonstrations of the product and all these things. And I was very nervous. And when I reflect back to 25 years ago, 24 years ago, here's what I understand. Three mistakes that I made when I launched myself into selling, which are fully connected to even my nervousness when I started into speaking and training and coaching. And they were the same things. And when I changed those three things, a huge difference, I could find a huge difference, and the participants and my audiences and my clients found a huge difference in the presentations I was giving, or the experience they experienced in my presentations and workshops and seminars and coaching. And these three, the first of them was that, when I started selling, and I would carry the products with me, and I would go onto the streets, but what I was mostly obsessed about, or what I was thinking about in my mind, was always how would I impress my prospects. This is what was my mind filled with. So I would be looking at how would I impress them, and how would I draw their attention, how would I hook their attention, how would I impress them in the first 3 minutes, in the 5 minutes, what would I speak to impress them, or how would I dress to impress them. And this is what I was in, my brain and my mind was filled with. And it was years later I realized that this was a mistake, because what shifted my view, and what shifted my understanding, and what shifted my quality of delivery in my workshops and talks and coaching sessions was understanding that it's not about impressing them, rather it's about knowing them. And instead of, when you're thinking about impressing them, you are focused on your own self. Your whole attention is on your own self than the person who you are going to serve actually. And that's the same thing happened with new speakers. They are more obsessed about what they are wearing, what they're speaking, how they're standing, what gestures are they making, and everything becomes so mechanical and as if robotic. And yes, a few things are required for you to create an impressive presentation, but if your mind is obsessed about impressing the audience, then you're not even thinking about the audience, and you're obsessed about yourself. Your whole attention is on yourself. And I felt that as long as I was thinking of impressing the audience, I was being a taker. I was not being a giver. So As long as you are being a taker, you're always thinking about yourself. And since you are always thinking about yourself, you are worried about the feedback. You're worried about the reviews. You're worried about what somebody is going to say and how they're going to judge you. And you're going to worry about how they're going to judge you, because even before they have judged you, you have begun from a position where you are yourself judging yourself. And since there is some negative judgment going on in your head, you are worried about somebody's judgment upon you. And that's the reason you want to impress them. And you have a feeling that you will be rejected, or you have a feeling that you will not come across very well, and you will not be looked upon as an expert. And there are many thoughts that are going in your head. And that's the reason you already have decided that the audience is your rival, or audience is against you, and that you have to do something to impress them in order to draw their attention. Now, yes, there are a few things you do to attract their attention and hold their attention, but that doesn't mean that your whole focus is on impressing. So the moment I shifted my perspective from impressing them to knowing them, see, the first few minutes with anybody is about knowing them, is about building connection, is about building rapport. And when you do that, you cannot build a connection without being present in the moment. You cannot build a connection without being available in the moment. You cannot build a connection with somebody without being available to that person who you are speaking with, and who's standing in front, the person who's standing right in front of you, whether it's one person or a big crowd. You cannot build a connection unless you are fully present, available there in the moment for them and with them. And this created a massive shift in my experience of being comfortable, standing in front of a crowd and speaking. The second mistake that I made, or misunderstanding that I had, was about the information that I'm going to share. And the second thing was like, what information I'm going to share, what all I'm going to put on my slides, what all I'm going to carry with me. Yes, you definitely have to be responsible. You have to take responsibility of what all content you have to share, and you definitely have to create an impactful presentation. But that doesn't mean that you're obsessed about information, because as long as you are obsessed about the information that you are going to share, then you're also worried that you might forget. That's something that you have tried to remember, or that's something that you want to share verbatim, and that's something that you are trying to ensure that the content that you have prepared with is exactly what you want to deliver, or maybe you are not ready for something that might happen on the spot. And this is what I felt, that although you have to be prepared with all the content and information and everything about the delivery, but if you come from an obsession about the information, then probably you will miss on the aspect of understanding their needs. See, any audience is sitting there, and if you're not speaking in a language which makes them feel that you are trying to understand them, and you are here to understand them, and if you're talking to a client, or if you are in a workshop with 30 or 40 or 50 participants, if you're obsessed about information, then you'll be missing out on the space, on the time that you have to actually understand your participants. And when I shifted my perspective from information-oriented workshops to understanding-oriented workshops, when I would spend my first few minutes only to understand where my participants come from, who they are as people, what are their challenges, what are their problems, what is exactly they are ignorant about, what would help them, what would serve them, and if what information would rightly fit into the gap that they are trying to bridge for themselves. Because the core principle that I understood was that everybody is sitting there for themselves. Every participant is sitting there because they want to learn something. Every participant wants to learn and grow and evolve as people, and that's exactly why they're sitting there. And if you don't consider them, if you don't consider their challenges, if you don't consider their needs, if you don't consider the gaps that they have come there with, then you will be lost in your own content, you will be lost in your own information. And you might impress them, you might actually give them loads of information, but then you will not have fixed their challenges, you will not have addressed their challenges, you will not have bridged those gaps. And that's why the participants would remember you as a very impressive speaker, very informative speaker, but chances are very less that you will be remembered as a very influential or impactful speaker, trainer, or coach. So if you want to become more influential and impactful as a speaker or a trainer and a coach, remember that you are there first thing, you are there to understand the needs. And when I say understand the needs, I don't just mean by the calls that you make before the event and trying to understand the needs and your training analysis or your audience analysis. Well, that is definitely, that's going to help you as a speaker or a trainer. But there are hundreds of times when I have actually gone there with my own assumption. But then when I started the workshop, in the very first 30 minutes or 40 minutes or even 60 minutes, I found that the group was the expectations of the group were totally different. Their needs were different, and some of them were confused about their needs, and they got clear there in those first few minutes. And it really helped me to understand my audience then and there in the first 60 minutes, which would then help me recreate my next few hours of the workshop spontaneously. So this happens again when you are fully present there, when you are fully available there, not to impress them, but to know them, not to inform them, but to understand them. The third mistake that I made as a new speaker or a trainer, but again connecting that to my experience in sales, in selling, in about 98 or 99, and this was the third thing that always that I was obsessed about, which also started reflecting in me when I started as a speaker and a trainer and a coach. And that was that I was obsessed about convincing my client, and I was fabricating ways, strategic ways as to how would I be answering if they ask this question, how would I be answering if they raise this objection. And I would be so prepared that it would actually be a kind of a manipulative maneuver where I would have already guessed. I made a guess already, and I was coming from an assumption, and I had hundreds of assumptions. It is good to be prepared, but what happened to me in the moment was that I was being not available to the client or to the person in the moment, because I was lost in my own assumptions of his objections or their needs, instead of understanding them, and instead of actually being available there to make space, to hold space for an authentic conversation in the moment. So the third mistake that I made was that I believed that selling is about convincing. And it was very late in my life that I learned that selling or speaking or training and coaching is not about convincing people, it's about conversing with them. And when you're available there to converse with them, you hold space for them to share with you about their challenges, about their needs, about their gaps. And that is exactly when, if you are not obsessed about what you have prepared with or to manipulate them, then you are available there to solve their problems and to serve them by being present to them. And then what comes out of you would actually rightly fit to solve their problems, to fix their challenges, and to help them evolve as people. So the third mistake that I made was thinking that it's all about convincing them. And I learned that it's not about convincing them, it's actually holding the space to converse with them. And when you cannot converse with somebody if you are not available in the moment, if you are not fully present in the moment, if you're obsessed with the content that you have come to actually manipulate them into buying something that you want them to buy. But the fundamental knowledge that I was missing on was that people do not buy because they're impressed by you. People do not buy because you have convinced them, or people do not buy because the product description was good. People buy because they want it. And if you can be authentically available there, if you can be fully present there, and if you can connect with them at a deeper level, you will be able to serve them by connecting what you have created for them to the wants that they have, to the needs that they feel they have. And that is when they'll be grateful for the product as well as you, your presence, and then your presentation. So it's not about your presentation. It's not about the information that you're sharing. It's not about how you convince them. In fact, it's about how you connect with them, how you understand them, and how you converse with them. So if you can remember these three things, it's not about information, it's about connection. It's not about the first thing actually, it's not about impressing somebody, it's about connecting with them. It's not about information, it's about understanding them. And it's not about convincing your audience, it's about being available and conversing with them. Thank you so much. I hope you loved it. Please share your thoughts. Love you. Bye-bye.